is not the first time that the Sixers have done feeling around about the possibility of building a new arena. Um, this one feels like it has legs. So I reached out to somebody at Comcast Spectacor this morning. And in the past, when I've talked to this person or when I've engaged with them, there's typically been a feeling of that's great. You know, they say that kind of thing all the time, but it never really bears fruit. Like they're just posturing. But this time, I did not get that feeling. Now, I'm not saying that there's anybody over at Spectacor that's like, sounding all the alarm bells. I don't want to make this sound as if this is an imminent thing, that Spectacor believes that it's all, going to hell in a handbasket. But let me read their quote. I put this out this morning, and I believe you also had it in the post over on Crossing Broad. Spectacor said, we've had a terrific partnership with the Sixers for decades and look forward to hosting the team in this world-class facility until at least 2031. That's when the lease expires. We invested hundreds of millions alongside the city, Phillies, and Eagles to make the South Philadelphia Stadium District an incredible destination for sports, entertainment, and our passionate fans. We think it rivals any in the nation and will continue to draw the best events. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is a perfect example. That's swell. Really nice. It's a solid enough statement, but there has to be some panic.
That feels like a breakup. I wrote it in the post saying you just got broken up with. You just went to Ibiza and you posted on your next Instagram saying living my best life to let your ex-boyfriend know that you're living your best life when you're not really living your best life.
Yeah, it's troubling. There are a lot of things, and I know that we have a bunch of different things that we're going to touch on today, but you look at it's hard to say, right? Because we're looking at 9 years away. So you can't look at the current state of a team and say, it's a massive loss because you don't know. And you can't use the current state of the Philadelphia Flyers to say, like, what a missed opportunity here. Or, like, how bad is this going to be for Comcast Spectacor? Think of all that lost revenue. You can't really do that either because you don't know what the Flyers are going to look like in 9 years. You also don't know if Comcast is going to own them at that point. You don't know if they're going to cut their losses with the team, if they go through, 3 or 4 more years of, poor play, bad ticket sales, etc. But on a fundamental level, here's the feeling out that I've done with friends and with other people who are in this area, and I'm sure you can speak to this as well. There's an initial apprehension because a Center City Stadium brings with it the belief that there's going to be horrible traffic. It's going to clog up the city even more. And then the more that people start to think about it, and the more that they look at subway lines coming in, the Patco station, et cetera,
advancements in
technology,
rail, I
believe, right?
Remember, people, this is 9 years away.
Yeah, like you look at that and you go, okay, so you're telling me I don't have to drive into the city. I can get off at, like, say, the Paoli station. I could take regional rail in, and then I could transfer to the subway. It feels like a more accessible setup. And the big thing here is I think that Harris and Blitzer have learned through some of their previous potential plans in the past what does and does not land well with Philadelphia. And the number one thing that they appear to have gotten right here is that there are zero public dollars being requested with this plan. Now, it does say that the tax breaks that exist, I believe, through 2035 as part of the current mall and, like, shopping area that's there would continue through. So that is like a nice perk. That's not nothing. That is definitely something. But at the same time, when you don't have to say we're looking for $200 million, $500 million in taxpayer money, it does become a much easier sell, I believe, to the public.
So you're taking we're infusing the economy, we're doing good, we're creating jobs, everyone's happy, or not everyone's happy, but, like, we're getting some people into the neighborhood, all that stuff. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to be Kyle, mid-20s guy. This is an absolute win for the city. I didn't understand how much I needed tailgating or even a stadium in the middle of the city before I went out to Wrigley, before I went out to Fenway, before I went even to Nashville, Bridgestone Arena. I didn't go to any Predators games, but I know they were very good when I was going out there, and they would shut down the street for the playoff games. I just think there is so much opportunity. If you've never been to Wrigley and Fenway, I would recommend getting there. You can sit at the bar, you can get a table, you can slam beers with your friends and basically touch the stadium. You can even go to a bar at Fenway where you can look out and see the outfield. It has this whole a window where you can see an outfield, and you can actually watch a game from there. This, I think, is such a massive win for the city because I said that 9 years ago was 2013. Uber was, I think, 1 year, maybe 2 years in Philadelphia. So it just tells you kind of like what the advances. We might have Elon Musk's Hyperloop by 2031 or 2032. We might not even be worrying about SEPTA. And the one thing is that I'm the only thing I'm scared about, because I will be 38. I'll probably be out of the city. Unfortunately, by then I'll probably have a kid, which is the scariest thing in the world. By then, it's very reliant on SEPTA. But if there's anything I know about billionaires in this city, is they can get things done if they want to get them done. So if SEPTA wants to be shit and not be able to get people down during rush hour and whatnot, billionaires will find another way to do it. So I think this is a massive win for the city. I'm jealous that people are going to be experiencing this. I want to throw a little bit of a conspiracy theory at you. Now, I think this is for real.
Love it.
Don't get me wrong. I think this stadium is for real, and I think you did a great job of adding context to why it is for real. I love that you're working the phones, by the way. I like that potentially Josh Harris, I saw this floated around on Twitter, Josh Harris and David Blitzer, they go out, they get these plans in order. They say, hey, we want to build a stadium right on the Fashion District. Now, we all know that Citizens Bank Park tried to do it. It was a little deeper over, probably by more the bridge in Chinatown, more Chinatown area. And they obviously were told no. And it was met with a lot of anger from community, from everybody, from the government. What if the city pushes back on this, cancels plans, and forces them to now build the stadium in Camden? And now, if everyone gets upset at the city of Philadelphia and not the Sixers, and this is actually what Blitzer and Harris wanted all along.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either, but
I do think that the city of Philadelphia is terribly run. I do think that the mayor is incompetent and has already expressed how excited he is to not be the mayor anymore. I think the DA has done a terrible job. It's not great. The optics are bad. Whatever. Ultimately, Kyle, does any of it matter? No, because whoever runs on the Democratic ticket in the city of Philadelphia is going to win. They're going to be in. You have to hope that whoever comes in next is going to do a good job of kind of tying this over and hopefully fixing some of the issues, especially with homicide, that exist in the city. That said, and this is it's not political, it's just numbers. If we look at this, I don't think that Harris and Blitzer would be this far along working with who they're working with, Adelman, who has a history of working massive projects within the city, understands the city. I don't think you make all of those inroads. I don't think that you're talking to labor unions. I don't think that you're doing all of this with the ulterior motive of the city, once again turning you down. I think there was also a councilman that was quoted in that Inquirer article as well that said what a big boost this could be for the city. Unless you've been, and you outlined a couple of places, a couple of cities in the U.S. that have, stadiums there. If you go to Europe and you get to experience what it's like, especially around like the World Cup, with public viewing, with restaurants and everything being open down the corridors leading to like the Olympic stadiums, right? I think of Berlin. When you get to experience what that's like, that's something we don't have here. Now, whether you want to say that the sports complex is excellent because it's technically like out there, it's by some, major roads, major highways, and let's be real, getting out of Wells Fargo Center sucks. It takes a long time to get in and it takes a long time to get out. That's not going to change. They have not remedied that situation. You don't have the Patco station there. You don't have regional rail there. It's all on the transfer to, the Broad Line. So if we look at this realistically, there is a much better chance that if you're trying to shoot for having a nice night with friends, with family, whatever, going to a Sixers game, that this is going to bring in a potential influx of jobs. It's going to probably fill out more business space that admittedly that Fashion District has had an issue with since COVID. They've lost a lot of business there.
Can't be a fashion district and your biggest place is Ross.
Yes. And that the owners of that facility, I believe, and that land have said that they are in favor of this plan. Because they think that it's going to potentially reinvigorate the city. It makes their land also much more valuable. It's going to be a hell of a sell on their part.
Hard Rock is pumping their fist right now, baby.
It is so hard to look at this plan and say that it's bad. What's the argument? The
argument is traffic. I think that's the main argument.
Because again, you have all of this public transportation that does need to get fixed, does need to get remedied. There is no doubt about it. But like I look out at areas that I've lived in the past. I look out at like Valley Forge, King of Prussia, Phoenixville, Royersford, Pottstown. There's like I forget what the name of the train thing is. I still see the posts about it. And the idea is that they want to try to reconnect regional rail. The train lines are owned by Norfolk Southern. It's a whole thing about freight versus passenger and like do you have to electrify the tracks and everything. All confusing. But by the time 2031 rolls around, one would hope that you have been able to iron that kind of thing out. And maybe this provides a catalyst to get that kind of regional rail line reestablished and to continue that kind of effort, at a state level of expanding out regional rail. There is like such a big catalyst, aspect of this. I have a hard time. If I'm the Sixers, right? If I'm Harrison Blitzer, I want to get the most value for this team when I go to sell. How do you do it, Kyle? You sell the stadium with it. You can't do it with Wells Fargo Center. So I don't blame them in the least bit. I mean, think about it. If you spend $500 million on this arena, the Sixers are probably already valued at like, 1.3, maybe $2 billion, maybe more. 10 years from now, take the inflation, right? It's probably going to be 3.5, 4 million. You add an arena onto that. I mean, you're just talking about like a drop in the bucket at that point. It's absolutely worth the investment on their part. I don't see how this doesn't get done. If the city gets in the way of it, then we have to reevaluate the conversation.